It's Friday, and you know what that means. If you've been hunting for a vertical handheld that won't break the bank, but still feels great in the hand, stick around because today we're taking a deep dive at the Anbernic RG35XX Pro with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and HDMI out, all for under $50. This could be the sleeper hit of the year for the budget retro handheld gaming scene. But does it live up to the hype? Let's find out together right after this. Hey fam, Swati Tukong Crap Peanic here, and before we dig into the review, let's go over the categories. First, every category will be rated 0 to 69, starting with the unboxing experience, internals, first impressions, ease of use, customizability, controls, and of course value. After we dig into the value, we'll go over the overall score, the top pros and cons of the device, and who I feel should buy the device and who should skip it. With that said, let's get started with the unboxing experience. True to Anbernic tradition, the box is a simple yet functional white box with an outline of the device on it with the model number on the bottom right corner. And on one side, we have color options, and the other side, we have FCC compliance logos and whatnot. But other than that, a very simplistic slide off the lid, and inside, of course, you'll find the device inside of a bag with a protective foam over the top to protect the screen as well as the thumbsticks. Of course, you'll also get a USB-C to USB-A cable for charging, and thank goodness Anbernic gave us a good length this time. And you get a solid quality user manual as you'd come to expect from Anbernic. However, what's missing? Normally, Anbernic gives us a screen protector, but for some reason they didn't include it this time. So I give them a little bit of a dock because it falls out of their norm. Still a solid unboxing experience from 40 out of 69. All right, now let's take a look at what's inside, starting with the 4x3 screen that is 3.5 inches IPS display that they've used before with full lamination, which just means that the glass and the LCD screen are glued together basically. So it makes it look like the images coming off of the glass. Really sharp, really vibrant for retro games especially. Now the CPU is their famous for the XX line, the H700 with a Mali G31 MP2 GPU, which is great for 2D games as well as light 3D performance games. So anything PS1 generation and before should be fine. Of course, demanding PS1 games or demanding PSP type games, you will see some slowdown, but anything before that, like the 8-bit, 16-bit, and other consoles like the 32X from Sega will play beautifully. You get 1 GB of LPDDR4 RAM, and that might sound small, but remember, you're not trying to power a PC here. And most consoles for the longest time had under 1 GB of RAM, so that's more than enough for the vast majority of emulation needs. Again, for the PS1 generation and before, more than enough. As far as storage, you get a 64 GB micro SD card slot with the OS and games on it. You get extra bonus points because they include their slot here, and then you have your own slot here if you want to add your extra games here as well. You have more room to do that. And not only can you add additional games, but you can add movies, you can add music, and even ebooks if you want to. So I appreciate we get the flexibility with 2 micro SD card slots. Now, the operating system is a 64-bit Linux-based operating system that is Anbernic's front end with RetroArch as the back end. And custom firmwares will be soon available on this device because they always support Anbernic devices. Well, one of the great things that I love about this device compared to some other devices in this price range is the connectivity. When I say that, I mean you're getting dual band Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands, or the 5G Wi-Fi. That'll allow you to be able to stream PC games if you want to from this device. Not everyone wants to stream a PC game on a 3x4 aspect ratio, 3.5 inch screen, but if you want to on the go, it's got you covered. Plus you got Bluetooth 4.2 for controllers and for being able to listen to music on the go. So I appreciate that they make it where it's easy if you're in a library or somewhere that needs to be quiet like a bedroom at night. You can play games, still be able to hear it, but not wake somebody next to you. Again, as I mentioned with multimedia, you can play MP4s, MKVs, or AVI files with music. Of course, you have MP3, you even have FLAC, WAV support, and you have ebook reading via TXT formats. So again, you can pick it up and read a book while you're maybe on a bus and maybe in a loud environment. Maybe you just want to read. So I love the flexibility. As far as battery goes, you have a 3200 milliamp hour lithium polymer battery that'll get you up to 7 hours of playtime depending on the load. By that I mean, of course, if you're playing a Nintendo 64 game, a PSP game, or a PS1 game, you're going to get less than that. But if you're playing Super Mario Brothers on the NES or Super Mario World on the SNES, 7 hours is more than doable. Other goodies on the device, again, that's nice to have, is the mini HDMI port. This will allow you to connect it to your TV, and with the Bluetooth, you can use a controller, or you can use the OTG USB-C cable port, plug that in and use a wired controller, and make this basically a console. So I love that you can have a console on the go and something that you can just throw in your backpack and not worry about it. And again, some games do include online multiplayer support, so you can do that with Wi-Fi. And I love that you can do USB-C to USB-C charging or USB-C to USB-A charging. You get the flexibility with this device. So I give the internal score a decent 45 out of 69. That said, I'm sure you're wondering what the first impressions are like. And as you can see, I picked out the transparent teal color, which really makes it pop. I love being able to see all of the innards on the device. And it just looks really cool being able to see everything on the inside. So right out of the bag, it looks really awesome, at least in my humble opinion. For me, I love the parallel sticks rather than offset sticks because, as you know, I'm a PlayStation guy, so I love having my sticks close together, and I appreciate that. It feels good when you're holding it. And obviously, you have the nice offset shoulder buttons as well. Makes it great for grip whenever you're trying to use it, so you can easily reach up to grab the 2 button, L2 or R2, while still having your knuckle get to the L1 or L2 button, so I appreciate that as well. Feels better than most devices that had the vertical sticks that were parallel to each other. Makes it much easier to have control of your device this way. Now, going back to the sticks for a moment, they are of the Nintendo Switch style, so they are pivoting from a central point, but they do have a good range of motion, so they feel great to use. And Anbernic has used this 3.5-inch IPS LCD display on multiple devices, and for good reason. I feel that it's one of the best 3.5-inch screens available, and it looks really good and crisp whenever you're playing games on it. So as far as build quality, it's really solid. You have to push extremely hard for any type of creaking, better quality than you'd expect for $50 US. So I have to admit that I feel that the build quality is really good. So overall, first impressions, I would give it a 49 out of 69. It's great to understand what it's capable of on the inside, but how easy is it to use? Well, power it on and you're playing within seconds. Just drag and drop files. For those wanting more games than what come loaded on the device, you can game scrape with Wi-Fi very easily, and you can even do media playback super simply with just navigating the menus. Enough about how easy it is to use. So someone that's not super tech savvy, know that you'll be right at home with this device without any issues. So I have to give the ease of use score a 50 out of 69. Of course, you know me if you've been watching any of my videos, and I love customizability. So while the custom firmware like NuliOS and Rocknix are not yet available on the Pro model, they will definitely be coming soon because, as I mentioned earlier, they always support Anbernic devices. I checked out Etsy, and they do already have a grip available for this device, and I'll try to have that on the screen now for you. Of course, you can also get the official case like I did directly from Anbernic or from AliExpress. And of course, there are other devices that have been this same form factor, just without the thumbsticks. So you can get generic cases as well on AliExpress for really cheap. And when I say really, I mean some of them $2 US. And of course, they've used this 3.5-inch screen many times on multiple devices, so AliExpress has got you covered for screen protectors as well. Of course, the device has a standard 3.5mm headphone jack, huge for those that still prefer wired audio, like audiophiles, because again, support lossless FLAC audio, so you can really enjoy some really quality audio out of a $50 device. So even without those custom firmwares available yet, I still have to give the customizability score 50 out of 69. It's great to be able to customize your device, but you live and die with a console based on how good the controls are as well. So I'm happy to report, as I mentioned earlier, the L1, L2, and R1, R2 shoulder buttons are some of the best I've used on any vertical handheld this year so far. They're a little clicky, but less clicky than a lot, so I appreciate that. Then we come around back over to the front, and we have the Super Nintendo style 4-way D-pad that feels really great, really quiet, has a good range of motion. So again, not too hard, not too soft. I appreciate that. The slippery / shiny face buttons here
are a little clicky, but compared to some Anbernic devices, not that bad. And compared to some cheaper devices, the function start select buttons are super quiet. Again, I appreciate that from them. And then the sticks, they have great range of motion, as I mentioned earlier. They can be used as R3 and L3. Just be aware they are probably the clickiest of all, so if you're playing in a quiet environment, that might catch some people off guard. But still, compared to some other devices, I have to admit I find the controls to be absolutely fantastic, so I'm going to give them a 49 out of 69. Now, as I mentioned, value is an important proposition to consider for a device, and for 50-ish US dollars, you get this IPS display with full lamination that looks absolutely great with retro games. You get dual band Wi-Fi, which some devices, to my dismay, do not include that, such as the Powkitty V90S. So I'm glad that not only do we get Wi-Fi, but we get dual band Wi-Fi. And we get Bluetooth support, which is a big win for us. Of course, another big win, in my opinion, is having the mini HDMI port, because you can get mini HDMI to full-size HDMI relatively easy. You can consoleize your device relatively easy. You can watch those movies that you've put on it, whatever you want, using that mini HDMI cable to make it have a bigger screen available to you. So I appreciate that. And again, Anbernic does a great job with build quality, so I have to admit it's a solid build quality. Regardless of $50, I think it's better than some $100 devices that I've tested. And good emulation, again, up to PS1 with light PSP games. So again, you're not going to be overly sad unless it's an overly demanding N64 game, Sega Saturn game, PS1 game. Those will probably bog down a bit. But for the vast majority of games that you'll play, you'll really enjoy it. So with that in mind, I'd have to give the value score a 51 out of 69. So when we put it all together, let's take a look back at the scores that this device received. For the unboxing, it received a 40, first impressions, 49, internals, 45, ease of use, 50, customizability, 50, controls, 49, and value 51 out of 69, which brings us to an overall score of 48 out of 69, which I believe would put it at the top 5 of devices I've reviewed this year, thereabouts. So again, you're going to be very happy with this, especially for the value. It's, I think, a great buy for a lot of people. That said, what are the top pros and cons of the device? Well, for the pros, I would say the best shoulder button feel that I have felt this year on a vertical handheld. The beautiful IPS display with HDMI out gives you great on-the-go capabilities, but also whenever you want to consoleize your device, either way, you're going to end up with a great display, easy to use, because you, again, either have this onboard display or put it to your big screen and make it a fun retro game console. I love the parallel sticks. Some people want offset sticks, but to me, I find the parallel sticks to be ergonomic because, again, I'm used to a PlayStation controller where my thumbsticks are together. Everyone's different, but that's my opinion. And again, connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and the alike, I find absolutely fantastic. And again, going back to that HDMI, part of that would be, I guess, connectivity as well. So those would be the top pros for me. What about the cons? Well, again, Anbernic usually includes a screen protector in the box, so I feel it is a bit of a miss that they didn't include a screen protector in the box for this device. Some of the buttons are clicky, but again, it's minor, but worth mentioning because, again, I'm just going over the cons here. Top-end PSP games, PS1 games, Sega Saturn games will slow down the device. So again, I'd consider that a bit of a con because you don't have the full catalog of those consoles that will run at a full 30, 60 frames per second. So again, I have to mention that. And custom firmware, not available yet. It will be coming, I have no doubt about it, because those and other firmwares have always supported the Anbernic devices, and this isn't that different. They can take bits from other devices that have the sticks by Anbernic and add it to the previous version that did not have sticks. Should be relatively easy for them to get those custom firmwares in relatively no time. But again, I want to make sure to mention how I see it today. It will probably be different on my long-term review, but again, I have to be honest with you and let you know what it is like today. So, who should buy it? I'd say definitely newcomers to the handheld gaming space, wanting a safe, easy-to-use vertical handheld for that Game Boy Color nostalgia. This is a great way to go. And oh, I love that teal color. Maybe it's just me, but I really love it. And retro fans that want a device that can be easily consoleized with an actual mini HDMI to full-size HDMI option available, that has solid PS1 and below performance for the vast majority of games, I feel should also be looking for this device. Now, who should skip it at this point? Those focused on the higher end, more demanding PSP, PS1, and Sega Saturn games that need that rock solid 30 or 60 frames per second should probably look elsewhere. And those that hate clicky buttons as much as most people would hate nails on a chalkboard should definitely skip this device. It's relatively good. but it is a bit clicky and could drive some people nuts. And that's a wrap of my short-term review of the Anbernic RG35XX Pro. Thinking about picking one up? Have you already got one as well? Tell me your thoughts down in the comments section below. And also, please check out the video on the screen right now about my subscriber giveaway. I'm going to be giving away merch to a randomly selected subscriber once we get to our 100 subscribers, based on those that have followed through on the steps required in the short that I will be having on the screen right now. So check that out if you want a chance to win. And as always, I make these videos for you guys, so let me know what you would like to see in the future. And until next time, this has been P-Nick.